What home upgrades should you look for when buying a home in Southern California? Watch this video. What home upgrades should you look for when buying a home here in Southern California? As it could be really daunting to think about all the repairs that are required on a home. Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you 3 repairs that are actually cheaper than you probably think, and 3 repairs that you really should consider whether or not you want to move forward with that purchase. All right, so in today's video, I'm going to go over 6 repairs that we commonly find that are needed on today's homes, and 3 of which, well, they're probably, I wouldn't be sweating too much about it, and 3 that you should really consider whether or not you want to buy that particular home. So let's start with the 3 that aren't typically a huge deal breaker. Number 1 on the list is carpet. So carpet, a lot of times you go through a home, people are living in the home, especially if they have kids. So I'm going to be putting a home on the market relatively soon. You have the family, 2 kids, that have 2 dogs, 2 cats. So to say the carpet is pretty worn and weathered might be the understatement of the century. But the thing is even though a lot of times the carpet can be beat up and a lot of times people freak out, oh my gosh, it's going to be a lot of work. Well, carpet is usually not very expensive. Typically, a few $100 per room to carpet a property. So I always tell our clients, don't freak out because you could carpet an entire house for a few grand. And obviously, if it's a bigger house, maybe you're looking at $7,000 to $9,000 if you're going to be putting carpet. So carpet tends to be relatively low cost, and also it's something that's a big impact if you're a seller that allows buyers to really be able to see the home, because sometimes buyers have a hard time seeing through this and not being able to envision themselves in the property. Another thing that's really good about carpet is that carpet typically only takes 1 to 2 days to actually install. So if you're going to replace the carpet, and even a lot of times flooring, it's not something that's going to take a whole week to do. It's something that can be done very quickly. Right, number 2 is paint. Paint's another one. As people live in the same home for a long time, the paint gets scruffed up. There are chips on the walls. Maybe sometimes they have odd colors such as burnt orange, or if they have a baby boy, it's blue. A baby girl, it's pink. So a lot of times people look at that and it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much to paint the house. Well, the good thing about that, again, after a few $1,000s, if just to do the interior of the house, a lot of times it can be done within 1 to 2 days. And also, it can also be done at the same time when you're actually doing carpet. So to go repaint the whole house, it's something that's not going to be a massive expense. So you could have, like we said, both of those done over the course of a few days. So I would say don't overthink paint. So another one that I see people often overlook, and I don't think is really a huge deal, is the garage door. So here in Southern California, you're looking at homes built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, just to name a few, that have these ugly garage doors that, especially if you're looking to sell the house, really detract from the curb appeal. It's one of the first things that buyers see when they come up. But to replace a garage door, if you're going to put a really nice modern one on, depending on what you get, ranges anywhere from about $2,500 to about $5,000. And especially if you're going to be looking at one of the nicer ones. But especially a lot of the way the homes are designed here in Southern California, it goes a long ways if you're a seller being able to replace that garage door. But, if you're a buyer, it's maybe something that you don't have to do right away, number 1. And number 2, it's really not a big job. And obviously, that's something that could be done in a single day. So those are the 3 that we really don't sweat a whole lot when we run into that. But here's the 3 that you probably should sweat. So the first one is roofing. Roofing is not cheap here in Southern California. So it really comes down to how many layers of roofing there are on the house. If there's 2 layers of roofing on there, if it's essentially composition shingle, then you're going to have to scrape the entire roof off and put a whole new on there. there's a single layer of roofing on there, then you can typically put a second layer on top. If you're dealing with tile roof or concrete tile clay, your cost really starts to get up there quite a bit. So roof jobs here in Southern California, depending on the size of the home, can range from anywhere from about $12,000 to $15,000, easily up to $20,000 to $50,000, depending on the size of the house and what type of roofing that you put on it. So that's a really big one. So if you run into a home that has a roof that's shot, one of those you're probably going to know that you're going to have to replace the roof. Well, you should definitely be having a roofer out there to kind of give you an estimate. And I would actually say get more than one bid, so that way you can really get an idea of what type of cost you're looking at. This way, during your inspection time period, you have the opportunity to be able to have somebody come out, maybe negotiate with the seller to have some type of credit or have it replaced. But at the very least, you want to know if you think that roof is shot, then you want to have a really good idea of what you're getting into when you close escrow. HVAC, that's your heating and cooling system in the home. That's another one of those components that has really skyrocketed. And what used to be maybe $3,000 to be able to replace the condenser unit is now easily $10,000. So if you're going to be going into a home that doesn't have a functioning HVAC system, or it's really old or requires a lot of Freon, I'm talking about 15 to 20-year-old systems, well, this is going to be something that you're going to have to deal with at some point. So you want to make sure that you spend a little extra time and make sure you understand what you're getting into on this HVAC system, because you could be on the hook in the $20,000 range to replace that entire system if both the furnace and the coil and the ducting are bad. That's a really expensive repair. That's when you want to go a little further on and oftentimes negotiate into your request for repairs also. And then the last one is kitchen and bathroom. So when you're redoing a kitchen, obviously it can get very expensive. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars for both kitchens and bathroom. So, a typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, 1,500 square foot home between kitchen and bath, you're easily going to be spending $50,000 plus, depending on how nice you want, or it could easily be $100,000 plus, depending on the finishes that you actually say. So I would say that on a bathroom, you're probably looking between $15,000 to $20,000 right now to remodel a bathroom if you're going to do it nicely and do it the right way. And a kitchen, again, that kind of starts around $35,000 to $40,000 and goes on up. So it's really a good idea to kind of budget for that. And one thing we always tell all of our clients, when you are going to do any type of remodeling, plan on going over your budget by about 20%. That's usually typically what happens anytime someone actually remodels. So you kind of have to have those 3 things, what we talked about, the roofing, the HVAC, and remodeling kitchen and bathrooms. Kind of keep that in mind and kind of make sure that you allocate in your budget for that. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to mention is that being said, what we just talked about getting bids for the HVAC, the roofing, the kitchen and baths, if you're buying a home that needs some of these things done, we actually have lenders that we work with that can finance the cost of making these repairs and improvements to your home after it closes. So let's say you're buying a home for $1 million that needs $200,000 worth of work. We could actually get you a $1.2 million loan to pay the seller their $1 million and set your $200,000 aside for the renovation after it closes. We have that option for you. And if you're on the flip side of this and you're thinking about selling your home and you're hearing this and it's a little bit scary of, oh my gosh, I probably should fix some of these things before I put it on the market, we have our Concierge Plus program. It has really been a game changer for our sellers, allowing the sellers to invest $20,000 to $50,000 into their home, so that way they can actually make their home look beautiful when it comes on the market. And the best part, they don't have a cent out of pocket. It gets deducted from their net proceeds at the close of escrow. Hey, have any questions about any of these programs, anything we talked about today? Of course, anything related, feel free to write a comment down below or send us a message. I'm Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group. Hope you enjoyed this video.